If you're a coach or practitioner who has been in business for a while and your sales are totally unpredictable and you're sick of starting each month from zero, wondering where your next client is coming from, this episode is for you. I'm going to be talking today about why we all need to stop making business so much harder than it needs to be and start setting up simplified systems that help us make money every month predictably. Most business advice is built on one key assumption, that what worked for someone else will work for you too. The Nourished CEO podcast exists to challenge that assumption and point to a better way. I'm Laura Schoenfeld, strategic advisor and business coach with over 15 years of experience online and multiple millions of dollars earned from my own business. I'm also a mom of two and a devoted wife who runs it all in about 20 hours a week. This show is for the established coach, consultant, or service provider who is done following someone else's playbook and is ready to build a joyful, profitable business from their own authority. Every episode is a direct, no-filters conversation about the real challenges you're facing in your business, with honest strategy and practical action steps that you can actually use right now. Because working smarter and building something sustainable matters a lot more than just chasing a bigger number. No recycled advice or empty inspiration here, just honest, integrity-driven conversations about building a business that fits your life as much as it fits your goals, so that it gives more than it takes while nourishing everything you're building outside of it. If that sounds like the breath of fresh air you're looking for, you're in the right place. Welcome back to the Nourished CEO podcast. I'm your host, Laura Schoenfeld, and this episode is just as much for me as I think it is for you. I have been in a season this year where I have been rebuilding a lot of things from, I don't want to say scratch because it's not really something you can ever go back to zero on, but pretty much building things from the ground up. And it's been an interesting year. Definitely some improvements, definitely some things that I'm really excited about, definitely things heading in a direction that I'm really looking forward to, and also some really big challenges that I have had to deal with as a consequence of those decisions. And I'm not going to get into that today in great detail because it's kind of its own story. And I think my whole point is that decisions are rarely either really good or really bad. Like, I don't think most people make decisions in their business that are just black and white, either good or bad. I think most decisions have trade-offs, and sometimes you don't realize what the cost of something is going to be until you actually start to go build it. I mean, if we think about building even a house, right? Like, you might have a budget, you might have an idea of what something is supposed to cost when you're building it, but then you get into it and things get more expensive, things that were supposed to be done in a certain order don't get done properly. It has to get redone. There's a lot of opportunities during a building process where things can get a lot more time and financially expensive than what you expected. And there's really no way to avoid that. So there's been a lot of rebuilding in my business this year that is taking longer than I wanted it to, than I expected it to. Even like I have a website that I think at this point when this episode goes out, it should be fully done, but it was supposed to be done in June, like early June. And this is like mid-August we're talking about. So that rebrand and the new website has been taking longer. There's been a lot of things I've had to deal with that are the combination of shutting down a program and sunsetting a program, as well as starting new things. New offers, new ways of serving clients, like just having all of that stuff to juggle at the same time is a lot of energy and time and effort and attention that is going into something that the intention is to build more simplicity and more cohesiveness in the business. But there's definitely this really substantial, messy middle phase that I'm in right now that has actually illuminated some things, not only in my business, but in my philosophy about business in the first place. And that's what I really want to talk about today, because sometimes you don't realize the things that are really working in your business until you shut them off. Sometimes you don't realize, just how much stuff you've built until you go to rebuild something. And so as I've been going through this process, I've really been doubling down on looking at how does this process inform how I'm teaching my clients in the future. Because granted, I don't actually think most people should just blow up their business like I did this year. But there's a lot of things that I have realized are now needing to be rebuilt or redesigned or done in the business that had been just on almost autopilot up until this last 6 to 12 months. And when those things are no longer there, it's a glaringly obvious hole in your business that you might realize, oh, wow, I didn't actually realize how important it was to have this particular asset working for me. And now that I don't have it, it's really noticeable. So as much as I hate to learn from pain and frustration and having to fix things that maybe didn't always need to be fixed, or maybe I didn't need to pay attention to for a long time. As much as I don't love learning lessons that way, I do feel like it's super valuable for me to now be able to take those lessons to my clients and help them do things from the beginning the right way, not having to go through this painful realization process that I've had to go through in the last couple of years. So that is a lot of an enigmatic way to describe exactly what I am going through right now. And like I said, it's not all doom and gloom. It's actually a mixed bag, right? Because I'm very, very excited about where the direction of the business is going. I feel very confident and convicted about what I'm going to be doing moving forward. And it's just a lot of work. And I'm in a season of life that doing a lot of work is hard. And it's not hard because I'm not willing to do it. It's hard because, for example, this week, my kids started school for the first time. My oldest daughter is 4 and she just started preschool. And now we're having to learn how to do the preschool routine and also drop her sister off twice a week. And then if we're not dropping her sister off, doing something else with her. And just like those schedule changes, the routine changes that happen with kids that are this age. Like there's just so much stuff going on in my life right now that having complexity and extra work in my business is not the best timing, honestly. But it is something, like I said, it is kind of a trial by fire that I'm going through to learn, okay, this is what really matters in your business. This is what you need to build or rebuild. This is what you need to focus on, and literally forget everything else. So ultimately, I know it's going to be for the best. I know it's going to be for the best for me, for my clients, for the way that I teach. And yeah, sometimes we have to learn things the hard way and do things the wrong way to then know a better way to do it and then be able to bring that type of insight to the people that we work with. Now, I will say when you first start a business, even though technically you're starting from scratch, I feel like there's a very different experience when you're starting a business than when you are maintaining one that is already in operation. So when you first start your business, everything is possibility and excitement. And like you literally just don't know what you don't know. So you don't have that sense of, holy cow, there's so much I'm going to have to do because you've never done it before. Like you literally just can't even imagine the workload that's going to be in your future. And everything's just super exciting, which is great. Honestly, I think that's so important. It's kind of like being in a new relationship, right? Everything is literally rainbows and butterflies. And that doesn't mean that you're not aware that it can get harder, but there's that level of excitement that really keeps you very focused on that new relationship that you're building. And I think it's the same way in business, where that kind of like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, anything's possible, I'm so excited about all of this, that kind of energy is so valuable for getting you through the hardest part of business, which is building the thing in the first place. It truly is harder to start a business than to grow one that's already existing. And so I do think there's a lot of value to a little bit of naivete when you are starting from zero. But what a lot of people are not talking about as much is what happens when you've been in your business for a few years and now the business isn't just a hobby or a side hustle or an experiment to see what happens, right? Now your business actually pays your mortgage. Now your business is something that your family relies on, that income. For me, our family is 100% relying on the income from my business. My husband doesn't have a job outside of our business. And so that's a lot of pressure. And when you're under that kind of pressure to make money, to support your family, to support your life, to pay the bills, it actually creates a lot of stress when that income feels unpredictable. Now, I'm not saying that you can predict income like, I don't know, I'm trying to think like $1 in, $2 out, right? Like we don't have that level of control over a business, but there's a big difference between having no idea where money's coming from every month versus having a system built where you kind of know what you need to do to pull the right levers in order to make more sales. And I'm speaking from experience here because up until pretty much January, I had those levers in place to be able to pull whenever I wanted to make more sales. Now, it didn't mean it was a perfect, oh, I press this button and I just have like money coming out of my computer like an ATM. But I had a system in place where I knew, okay, if we want to ramp up our clients, I can spend more ads on this. I can send people to this funnel. I can do this workshop. I can talk about this topic. Like it just felt very clear about what I needed to do every month in order to get clients. Now that I'm in this in-between phase, I call it the hermit crab between shells phase, I don't have those assets built. I'm going to be building them and we'll talk about what assets those are in a few minutes, but they don't exist. And so when it comes to getting clients, it is a lot less predictable than it was, just being fully transparent. I'm still making money. I'm still getting clients. We still have recurring revenue from payment plans. Like there's still sales coming in, but it is nowhere near as predictable as it was back in January and even at the end of last year, right? So this experience of shutting all that down and having to start over has really made it clear to me that there are some specific high value assets in a business that make it so much more likely that you're going to make sales every month and really give you a specific thing to focus on in order to turn up the sales volume versus feeling like every month starts from zero, every week starts from zero, and you're just like, where's the next person coming from? What do I do next? And that level of chaos in the business is really, really stressful, especially if you are somebody who is a substantial contributor to your income, your family's income. Maybe you're single and it's the only money you make. Or if you're like me and your whole family relies on your income, like that is a lot of pressure. Now, I love making more money. I love talking about making more money, increasing revenue, all that's great. And honestly, I think money that's predictable and profitable, so you're actually keeping most of that money, is way better in my opinion. And I've had experiences in the last few years of business where I got way too focused on revenue. And I really think that that excessive focus on top line revenue was what led me to create some of the stuff in my business that then ended up leading me to shutting a lot of it down. And again, I say shut it down. I'm not shutting the business down, but I was shutting certain offers down. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but basically my business got so freaking complicated, so heavy, so much stuff that I was trying to deliver within the programs, too many things within the programs, trying to promise too many things, trying to deliver too many things, trying to make my offer so irresistible to every single person that came my way that I just made this beast of a business that not only was very energetically demanding to operate, but it also was way less profitable than it used to be because I made some hiring choices, I made some investments that looking back, it was all around just how do we get more top line, and I wasn't really being advised on profitability or simplicity or anything like that. So and it is what it is, right? Like I look back and I'm like, okay, that was a lesson I had to learn, unfortunately. Like I said, I would love to learn from success, but success is usually not your best teacher, right? Usually failure or challenges or problems are where you learn the best lessons. And for better or worse, I'm the kind of person that the lessons I learned in my own life are the ones that I can then support my clients with and help them avoid the pain and suffering. So all of that to say, the main offer I was running just got way too complicated. I was trying to do too many things for too many people. I was trying to make this like this all-in-one, solves every problem that you have in your business type of offer. And which is, great for the people buying it. Even worse, I had no clear retention offer after it. So people would come in, get tons of really, really high quality curriculum, resources, support, all of this. And then there was really nowhere for them to go. So I was constantly having to sign up new clients. I was constantly having people that I had to pay to run the program. There was just so much stuff that I was like, I just had this moment where I was like, what the heck did I even create? Do I even want this? Is this even what I want to run anymore? And trying to figure out, okay, how do I simplify this? And really feeling like I don't think there is a way to just simplify this thing that exists. I think I just need to kill it and start over. And again, probably not always the best recommendation. I really think most people should avoid killing an offer, especially an offer that's making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month. But hey, I like to learn things the hard way, as I said. So there was predictability. I knew how to actually get clients into this program. I had a pretty solid system for applications, for enrollments, for sales conversations. It was a pretty decent system. I'm sure there was little things I could have improved, but overall it was pretty decent. That's, again, how I was doing 30 to 60K months on this program, even while I was becoming a mom of 2 on maternity leave, all of that stuff. But I was taking less and less of it myself, even as the revenue was stable. And then I was also on the hook for delivering so much more. And really just looking at like, is the way this program was designed even helping people? Because honestly, I think I put so much into it that it actually became less useful for the people I wanted to work with. So I hit this point where I was like, I just do not have the energy to run such a heavy mismatched business model. And I just didn't really see any other way to change it than to just start over. So as I said, this year, I pretty much blew the whole thing up, started practically from zero. I still have an audience. I still have skills. So again, it's not zero, but really building all of these systems and all of these assets in my business from the ground up. So like I said, throughout this process, ironically, this shutting down of the core offer, the core sales system, all those assets that I had built, turning all of that off, made me realize how much my business benefited from having those assets that I now have to rebuild. Now, it does kind of suck to start over. I'm not going to lie. There has been moments this year where I was like, oh, I really wish I just had these assets built. And I'm kind of like regretting doing what I did because, man, it's so nice to have a sales system that's already existing and proven. Man, it's so nice to have people coming in every month, like wanting to work with me, wanting to buy something. Man, it's so nice to have this program that's just totally built out. And, you know, it's clunky and it's heavy and it's a lot of work for me to deliver. And I don't love the experience of delivering it anymore. But yeah, it's there, right? Which is easier than having nothing, right? So having to start over and having to rebuild those assets has made me realize, oh my gosh, these assets are ones that I kind of took for granted and never realized how impactful they were for keeping my revenue stable and at a high level of stability. You know, I'm not talking about like $5,000 a month stable. I'm talking about, like I said, $30,000 to $60,000 a month stable. I've been having this conversation with some friends about how we millennials, so I don't remember what age millennials are, but I am 39. So I am like very millennial. I feel like us millennials like to make things harder than they need to be. This has been this conversation I've been having with so many friends, even friends that are not in business at all. Like they just have other parts of their life, whether it's parenting, whether it's church involvement, whether it is relationships. Like we just have to make everything hard. I don't know why. I don't know what is damaged in our brains that we're like, hey, this is what's required. Let me do more. Let me do the most. Let me get the extra credit. Let me go above and beyond what anyone expects from me, what even people are noticing, and let me just do the most. I don't know what it is that makes us think like this, but if that's resonating, I promise I'm dealing with the same mindset that I'm working to break right now. Because honestly, that attitude is killing us as entrepreneurs, especially if you're also a mom and you have so many other things that you're responsible for. This idea that you need to do it all and do it the best and do the most is awful. And it is so hard to keep up. And I think for me, I didn't really have the wheels fall off on that attitude until I had baby number 2. Like even baby number 1 was like, I can handle this. I can keep going. I can keep doing the thing. And then going from 1 to 2, it's just like, nope. You can't do everything extra the way that you've been doing it. So I am not saying that we should phone in running our businesses. I have been in programs before where the person who was running it, like, clearly was just in it primarily for the money. I'm sure there was a level of like personal growth, but they didn't really seem to care that much about creating excellent content, about, really being invested in the results of their clients. Like, you could just tell that it was like they were looking to do the least. I am not saying that that is how we should approach our business. I don't think it is in your bones or my bones to do the least in business. We're just not capable of that. What I'm saying is that simple and creating something that is simple as possible, but no simpler, is better for you and your clients. It helps you make more money. It helps you make more predictable money. It helps your clients get better results because they're not going through this like massive content portal that they're trying to get fire hosed by. Like, simplicity benefits everybody. And I really think that a lot of us in that like millennial type A, mom group that I am a part of, like, we all just need to take everything down a notch and look at, okay, what actually needs to get created and what is enough, right? Like, what is good enough in my business so that I don't create this overcomplicated, messy, difficult to run business that then gives me unpredictable income, which is the worst. It's the worst to have that experience. So I'm noticing this in a lot of my clients where there's certain parts of their business that are way overcomplicated and then certain parts of their business that are way oversimplified. For example, their offer suite is a freaking hot mess. Like, they have 3 different versions of the same signature offer. Nobody knows what's what. They have like 3 different low ticket things. They have one-on-one. They have a higher ticket group program or whatever, right? It's like they have like 7 different things they're trying to sell, 3 of which are just different versions of the same core offer. And it's just this like super messy delivery system that actually takes way more of their time, energy, and attention to run. And it's not as streamlined or efficient as it could be. There's ways to build your offer and your product suite so that you can help your clients in a really effective way and not make it so that you have to juggle 18 different tasks on any given day to be able to operate your business. So overcomplication in your offer suite or in your delivery is like one of the worst things that I see all the time. I also see a lot of overcomplication in your audience building strategy. Honestly, this is a bad habit of mine where people are talking about a platform and I'm like, oh, let's go try that platform. And then I'll do it for like a month and then just be like falling off the wagon. Now, clearly I'm consistent with certain things. Like, my podcast is one of the few things that I'm like pretty damn consistent with, but it's so tempting to be like, oh, I need to be on Threads. I need to be on Substack. I need to write long form content. I need to have a newsletter. Like, there's so many different things you could be doing. And then you end up just scattering yourself across a bunch of different platforms and not really doing super well on any of them. So over complexity in your marketing and your content platforms is also super common. Now, the silly part about this whole thing is that one of the least complicated areas of most people's businesses is the one that actually can benefit from the most amount of structure, and that is your sales system. So I work with a lot of people who their sales process is just like a total random, maybe it's something that they know what people are doing, but even when they have a client that's interested, it's like, well, what do they do next? What's the next step? How do we have this conversation? Like, what do I need to do? Do I need to apply? Do I need to book a call? Do we just DM each other? What are we even selling? How do I know if I'm a good fit for this offer? Like, there's so much question marks in the actual sales process. And when I've done work with, especially one-on-one clients, when I do like an audit or a sales and systems intensive, I will pretend like I'm a client that wants to work with them and just look at their journey. And half the time it's like, I don't even know how I would become a client. Or I run into the sales process that's like super high friction and very sketchy. And it's like, of course, nobody's booking app or sales calls. Like, this is so unattractive to somebody who's potentially considering working with you. So I do find that for a lot of people, they don't have anywhere near enough complexity, and complexity is in heavy air quotes here. They don't have that system or that process or that design in their sales process. But then their other parts of their business are there's way too much going on, right? Like too much going on in their offers, too much going on in their marketing, not enough going on in their sales. So generally when I work with clients, like we're looking at all three core functions of the business. How are you serving your clients? How are you converting sales? And how are you attracting them with your content and marketing strategy? Those are pretty much the three key functions of a business. And I'm going to talk about some of the assets that you can build in each of those functions, but we need each function to have appropriate level of structure and to have that simplicity, right? So that is the goal. And that's honestly why I'm rebuilding my business, because I realized I had too much complexity in my delivery. I had too much complexity in my content creation. And honestly, my sales system was pretty on point. That's the one part of my business that I really liked and was working and was, for better or worse. I know I've mentioned that the whole evergreen group program was not my jam, but looking back, I'm like, that would have not required that much of a tweak to be able to change that. And I could have kept the sales system. Live and learn. But that sales system piece was actually the best part of my business, whereas the offer was so heavy for me to deliver. And the marketing strategy was like coming up with new ideas all the time versus having some core functions and some core repeating messaging. So that is what I'm learning in the process. Again, it's like stuff I already kind of knew, but you don't really realize what exists in your business until you just blow the whole thing up and start over. And so now I am rebuilding my business with those three core functions in mind. And within those three core functions, there are 7 core assets. I call them authority assets that allow you to get to a place where your business is really more predictable and growing predictably. Maybe it's not like a hockey stick growth, but it's that sustainable, predictable income every month, and you know what you need to do to grow it. And honestly, this is like the whole Nourish CEO philosophy is that your business should be set up in a way that really protects your offline life. And that requires simplicity. And I do believe that business can be a lot more simple than we make it, but it has to be built with intention. Simplified business models do not get built by accident. I promise you that if you are anything like me and you're that like, what else can I do to make this even better mentality, you will create complexity if you're not paying attention. So you have to be building with intention. And like I said, as I'm rebuilding mine, I'm really looking at very intentionally, what do I want to create, and keeping things as simple as possible. So these are the 7 core assets that I am working on rebuilding in my business. And when I say rebuilding, some of the stuff already exists. Maybe it's a little bit like a messaging tweak, or just like a different way of talking about things, or a different cadence, or maybe like a doubling down on the commitment. But none of this is being built from zero. It's just rebuilding the structure in a way that every piece exists and there isn't extra complexity where there doesn't need to be. So to start with my offer suite, I do have some one-on-one offers that I like to have available. It's not always available, but I like to know that if I want to take on some one-on-one clients, I can, because honestly, I really like one-on-one. But as far as any sort of core offer suite is concerned, I am going to have one signature offer. So signature offer, flagship offer, centerpiece offer. There's so many different ways you can describe it, but it's essentially the offer that all of the sales and marketing orbits around. So that signature offer, and building it so that it has a retention offer on the back end from the beginning, and not creating something that, like, I can't tell you the number of times people joined our MBA program and were like, this is amazing. I love working with you. What's next? And I was just like, oh, I don't really have anything next. like other than one-on-one, which not everybody's ready for. Like, I literally didn't have anything that was really next for them, because I had way over delivered in the initial offer, and I made it lifetime access. So it was like, you don't even have to pay to keep accessing all this stuff. So I kind of shot myself in the foot there. I'm not going to lie, but moving forward, I'm building with the intention of having that retention offer for monthly recurring revenue on the back end. So that's really when it comes to delivering a service or a program or like whatever you're doing to help transform your clients' lives, that offer, all you need is one core offer and maybe one retention offer. And the retention offer can literally just be renewing the core offer. So that's phase one. I don't know. It's function one, I guess, of my business is the way that I serve my clients. The next function of the business is how do I sell or convert clients? So I am a big fan of applications for higher ticket offers. I love, first of all, collecting that information about buyers in the beginning. It's so great for marketing, but also it's good for filtering people that are, whether or not they're a good fit for the program, because I like to curate, especially if it's a group program. I'm very mindful of curating the experience so that good quality people come in, people who actually make the experience better for everybody, and they're not just going to be in there like whining and complaining, because nothing is worse than being in a group program where there's a bunch of people like complaining, right? So having that application process, and for my one-on-one, of course, like having an application is like a no-brainer. You want to know who's applying, you want to make sure you can actually help them, and you want to have some filter around, are they going to be a good fit to work with you? So the application process, honestly, that is so easy to build now for me. At this point, I've built so many applications, like that would take me 30 minutes to build an application for a new program. What's missing right now for me is functional sales pages for my offers. We're working on them, but I'm still hashing out the details of my signature offer. So I don't really have strong sales pages right now. You don't technically need a nice, pretty sales page. You can do it with a Google Doc, but the copy and the offer is what needs to be on there. So I am working out the details of the exact offer and what needs to go on the page. But once that's done, that's going to be a core asset in my business. And the option of booking a call depending on the offer. And for now, I don't know if I'm always going to offer sales calls, especially for my entry point offer, but it does depend on the price point. Either way, I'm a big fan of sales calls. I think they're really great for facilitating a sale, and they're also really great for getting to know your buyers and understanding what they're dealing with and understanding what they're looking for. And so for now, I plan to include sales calls, at least as an option for the people who want them after they have gone through that application process. So that's kind of like the basic sales function in the business, the application to sales page with the optional call. I mean, that's kind of like bare bones sales assets, but there is some level of restructuring and rebuilding that has to happen there. The next piece of the convert puzzle that is going to take a little longer to build, but I'm definitely like already thinking about it, already noodling on it, already planning it, is something called a VSL. So a VSL is a video sales letter. It is a video that basically does the bulk of the selling for you so that by the time somebody applies to work with you, they're already like 90% of the way in the door. And it just makes your application quality way better, and it makes your close rate way higher. It's basically the system that even allowed me to make sales calls optional in the first place with a $6,000 offer, which is not cheap, right? So I want to rebuild a VSL. I'm not there yet, but I plan to do it as soon as I am ready to start sending people to the proper offer. And that VSL includes a curated email sequence that builds intentional time on brand. So time on brand is essentially the amount of time somebody spends with you before they make a purchase. And the goal is to get people to spend at least an hour with you before they buy. It doesn't mean that the VSL is going to be an hour, but the VSL plus other little bits of content that I can send them can create an hour total. And that is my goal, to be able to get an hour worth of really high quality exposure before somebody might apply to work with me. So I do not have that system anymore. I had it for NBA. It worked really well and it was really dialed in. And I'm very much looking forward to building that again, because that was honestly my favorite part of the business, was having that VSL set up to be able to sell my stuff without having to do so much legwork. Now, the final chunk of the business, the final core function, is the attract function. So that's basically, how do you get eyeballs on your stuff? How do you get people to find out about you? How do you market to them? How do you even get people into sales conversations in the first place? And what I've realized over time is that there's really only 3 types of content that you need to create what I call a bingeable body of work. So a bingeable body of work is a collection of your freely available content that helps somebody understand why they should work with you beyond just the problem that you solve and the result that you help them get, but really starts to layer in your personality, your energy, your magnetism, why they should trust you, just all the things that are required, especially in 2026 to make sales. We need to have time with the person. And that's why if you're just relying on things like Instagram to get clients, you are working so much harder than you need to, because do you know how much time somebody needs to follow you to have a full hour worth of exposure to you on Instagram? It is months. That doesn't mean that some people won't buy faster, but if you want to capture the greatest percentage of your audience that's a good fit for your offer, you need to have some place where they can go deep with you. So there, in my opinion, and honestly, this is what I'm seeing in the industry in general, there are 3 core types of content you need to produce on a certain cadence to create that bingeable body of work so that people can find you, that they can go deep with you quickly, and that they can make a decision to work with you. So the first type is discovery content. This is the kind of stuff that you would actually be doing on a daily basis. It's not just things like social media, but that is one option for discovery content. But basically, it's any sort of communication that allows people to find out about you, as the most basic description of that. Generally, I would suggest spending about an hour a day on that. I know that that might sound like a lot, but honestly, that is not that much if you think about the fact that that might be the only time you spend on sales and marketing in a single day. So the discovery content is the stuff that helps people find out about you. The next category of content is depth content. So depth content is where you can go deeper on specific topics, specific perspectives, belief shifts, even how-tos, right? Like, I mean, I'm kind of doing a how-to right now. I'm not giving you all the details because that would be impossible in a single podcast episode, but you're getting some education right now, right? So you're able to educate people in a way that makes them want more. You're able to share your perspective. You're able to connect with your audience. That depth content can be done in many different ways. For me personally, podcasting is the easiest one. It was funny when I sat down to record this episode, I contemplated putting myself on video because I have makeup on and my hair is decent. But then I was like, you know what? Honestly, people are not going to watch a video that's like just recorded on my computer camera and like no editing. And, you know, maybe I could record it and get it edited later. But I'm like, you know what? At this stage of my business, I just want to be able to turn the mic on and just record and not worry about the visual experience. And so, you know, because I very rarely watch YouTube. I've been watching some more YouTube lately for business stuff, but honestly, most of it's just like the phone is in my pocket and I'm not even watching it. But if I am going to watch it, I want it to actually be good quality video. I don't want to watch somebody like looking like they're on a Zoom call, right? Like that would make me want to throw my phone out a window. So my feeling is if I'm not ready to do high quality production, then why would I even bother putting up video in the first place? That's just video, right? Like video is its own unique medium. Podcasting for me is so low lift. Like I think I spent like 15 minutes writing the outline for this conversation today. And it's pretty easy to edit too. So it is something where for me, podcasting is the easiest depth content. Doesn't mean I won't maybe dabble in video at some point. It doesn't mean that I don't have writing as like an alternative, but for me, talking is the easiest thing to do. So that depth content generally takes about 1 to 2 hours a week, depending on how efficient you are, how long your episodes are. I know, like I always come into these episodes thinking maybe I'll just do like 20, 30 minutes, and they're usually an hour, as you probably know. But all of that to say, it is a good opportunity for people to go deep. And for me, my highest paying buyers are my podcast listeners. So it's worth the time and energy to create it. The third type of content is kind of like your bonus content. I still think it's really valuable for most people to do it, but it's not totally essential. And that is something I call decision content. Decision content is something that you can do monthly-ish. I mean, it could be more frequently than monthly. It could be bi-monthly. Like there's options for you. But this is where you host something live where the focus of it is helping somebody make a decision to work with you. These can be workshops. These can be free group calls. These can be, technically you could do a recorded thing. I personally think live is the best thing to do, especially in an industry where people like don't go live anymore as much, right? Like I just feel like, I don't know what it is. People are so unwilling to do live stuff that if you're willing to show up live, for the people who also show up live to participate, it's just so much more powerful for them to participate in that. And honestly, if somebody's not willing to show up live, like who's to say they're even going to be willing to show up for your program, which includes live stuff, right? So now if people just aren't interested in showing up live for your stuff, that's a different conversation. That's a messaging and marketing issue. But there are some people that are just like, I don't want to watch anything live. And maybe they're not the best fit clients if showing up live is like part of how you would help them. But I do think that there's a lot of value in the crowded market we're in to going live. It gives people a really good experience of you and your energy. And it's something that you cannot replicate with AI. You can't edit, like you have to actually be your full self. This is something you can have people register for, but you could also do it just like you could go on Instagram and go live. You could go on Substack and go live. Like you do not have to have this whole planned out thing, but I do think at least doing that monthly is a good idea to create that live touch element and then to be able to create a sales opportunity. So I'm calling that decision content. That is that monthly cadence where you're facilitating the actual decision to apply and enroll. And it's a very focused, specific topic that honestly, you can do the same topic every month if you wanted to. So that's the 3 types of content that I am either refining or rebuilding into my business. It's the discovery content, the depth content, and the decision content. And it's created either daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on the content. So that's like a behind the scenes of what I'm building / rebuilding / refining in my business right now. It's 7 core assets. And that's honestly all you need to make 6 or multi-6 figures in your business, or even 7 figures. Like this is the same model that a lot of my peers that are doing like 7 figures in their business, like this is what they're doing. It doesn't mean you can't add layers. Like it doesn't have to be one asset for each thing, but you need one of each first before you start adding complexity. And honestly, most people don't even need the complexity, right? Like, and when I talk about complexity, it might be that, okay, I'm doing Instagram as my discovery content. Let me layer in some paid ads so that I have more predictable visibility, right? Like that is a little bit more complexity, but not like another platform that you have to necessarily learn, or you can outsource Facebook ads. Actually, my husband runs Facebook ads if anyone listening is looking for an ads manager. But it is something where adding the ads in is like a little bit more complexity, but it's not like a completely new like content platform that now you have to learn how to create content for. So as long as those 7 assets exist and they're optimized, you can have that predictable income. You can have that compounding business because you're building assets and not just content that just disappears after 24 hours. And it really gives you the opportunity to create a very streamlined, functional business that pays you well, feels easier to run, allows you to focus on the things that are really in your zone of genius, and most importantly, protects your offline life, which as time has gone on, I've gotten so much more strict about that because my kids are young. They need me. I want to be around them. I do not want to be working all day, even if I love my work, which I do. I really do love my work, and I don't want it to take up my entire day because I want to be with my kids sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. I want to work out. I want to have time for friends. Like my life offline matters more than my business, and my business is there to support it. So this is the model that I am installing, reinstalling, whatever we want to call it in my business. And it's the exact model that I'm going to help you map out on my upcoming workshop this week. So I am running a workshop that I'm calling Compounding Clients. And the reason it's called Compounding Clients is because I want to help you get off this I need a new client all the time roller coaster and really feel like you have a business that not only gets the right clients in the door, but also keeps them so that your income can really grow without so much nonstop effort, nonstop thinking about what am I going to post? Like, how do I be visible? Where are my next clients coming from? Like all that constant thinking about your business is what makes businesses kind of feel crappy to run. I want to help you create these assets so that you can have that predictability and simplicity and do a really great job serving your clients, serve them with excellence, but in the most simple way possible so that you are not running yourself ragged to do it. So the workshop's coming up this week on Thursday, August 20th. The link to purchase a ticket is in the show notes. Now, what I will say is for those of you who actually listen to my whole episodes, I want to give you a secret coupon code. So the workshop ticket is $37, which honestly is a drop in the bucket for what we're going to be doing. But because you are listening to my words right now and you're somebody who is one of my ride or dies on my podcast audience, I love you guys. You guys are my favorite part of my community, the people who actually listen to what I'm saying, who actually like stay around for the longer conversations, which is definitely my bent. I want to give you the ticket for free. So this coupon is not going to be in the show notes. The link to the purchase will be in the show notes, but it's only those of you who are listening right now are going to get the free ticket. So go click the link in the show notes and put the coupon code PODCAST, PODCAST, into the show or into the checkout link, and it'll take it down to $0. And I would love to have you there as my guest for free. Like I said, my podcast listeners are the best. They're my ride or dies. They're I'll stick around for a 60-minute conversation about business. And I want to reward you guys with a little gift to attend the workshop. So what we're going to do in that workshop is we're going to go through these 7 core assets to look at your business and map it against the 7 assets to see what exists, what's overly complicated, what needs to be simplified, what doesn't exist at all that needs to be added. So that way you know exactly what to work on moving forward so that your business functions as a cohesive system and it's not this constant like scramble every month to be able to get clients in your door or to make the money that you need to make in order to fund your real life. And again, sometimes funding your real life is like paying for childcare, paying the mortgage, paying for groceries. Like it's not like you're out buying Birkin bags or something, right? But it is something where I want you to have the amount of money that makes you feel like money is never a limiting factor for you. And that is what is possible when you have a business set up this way. So that is my spiel for today. I hope that was enjoyable for you to see a little sneak peek into what I've been going through as I've been rebuilding my business this year. And like I said, overall, I am very excited about the direction it's going in. I feel really confident about what I'm creating. It's just, there is a level of like, oh, there's so much work that needs to be done to rebuild these things. And a small part of me is like, ooh, I really miss having the thing that already existed. But I know it's all for the best moving forward. And I truly do believe it's so that I can help you better by going through the tough stuff myself. So I am so glad that you hung out with me for this conversation today. I hope to see you at the workshop on Thursday, August 20th. Go check the show notes. Use the coupon code podcast for a free ticket. Show up live because I'll help walk you through each step on demand. Like as we're doing it together, you will have your entire business model built by the end of it, and you will know exactly what you need to do next to build it. All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I will see you here next week on the Nourished CEO podcast. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. And if this episode got you thinking about how you're actually wired to run your business, your next step is to take the CEO type quiz. Because here's the thing. Most of the business advice out there was built for someone specific. And if that someone isn't you, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how many strategies you implement. It's just never going to feel right, and it's never going to work as well as it should. Knowing your CEO type changes all of that. After you take the quiz, your results page will walk you through your natural strengths, your biggest blind spots, and a concrete game plan for your offers, messaging, sales, and even your calendar, all built around how you actually think and lead. Not generic advice, your specific direction. It takes about 5 minutes and it's completely free. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to lauraschoenfeld.com/quiz. And if you already know your type and this episode resonated with you, share the quiz with someone else who needs it. The right framework at the right time can completely change how someone sees their business. And honestly, that's exactly why I made this. All right, I'll see you next time on the Nourished CEO podcast.